All right, today we're going to try and tackle one of Hollywood's biggest questions. What exactly is Nicolas Cage? And to do that, we're going straight to the source. We're going to dive into his own words using his answers to the web's most searched questions to try and get inside the mind, the myth, the legend. So, let's get into it. And right off the bat, we get this wonderfully weird, kind of existential question. Notice it's not who is Nicolas Cage, but what. I mean, that's the perfect place to start, isn't it? So, what does the man himself have to say about it? And there you have it. That is a classic pure Cage response. He just flips the whole thing right back at you. It's cryptic, it's a little playful, and it tells us one thing for sure. We are not getting any simple answers today. This is going to be fun. Okay, so to even begin to understand the man, I think we have to start with the actor. His career is just legendary, right? But his whole identity as a performer was something he had to literally invent for himself, starting with his own name. See, before he was Nicolas Cage, he was Nicolas Coppola. Yep, that Coppola. And when he was working on Fast Times at Ridgemont High, he found out that name was kind of a problem. Other actors would just walk up and quote his uncle's movies at him all day, making it impossible to actually focus. He knew right then he needed a completely new identity.
So where did the name Cage come from? Well, this part is just fascinating. It's this blend of two totally different influences. On one side, you've got Luke Cage, the Marvel superhero, all about pop culture and power. And on the other, John Cage, the super experimental avant-garde composer. That mix of high art and pop culture, that pretty much perfectly sums up the career he was about to build. And you see that exact same range in his work. He says his favorite film is the really quiet, soulful movie Pig, and he describes it like a haiku. So poetic. But then you ask him about his hardest role, and it was playing a version of himself in The Unbearable Weight of Massive Talent. He called it a high wire act. Isn't that wild? It was easier for him to be a fictional character than it was to be Nick Cage. So for a guy who's done pretty much everything, what's left on the bucket list? Well, his dream role is Captain Nemo. He says he loves the ocean and the character of Nemo, this brilliant, misunderstood genius who plays by his own rules. It feels like a perfect fit, doesn't it? So we've talked about the actor, but let's shift gears and look at the man himself. Because let's be honest, the person behind the roles is every bit as fascinating, maybe even more so. Now, his connection to Hollywood royalty is, of course, through his uncle, the one and only Francis Ford Coppola. And this is the exact family tree he wanted to step away from professionally when he changed his name. Okay, this is a fun one. When someone asks if he's goth, his answer is so revealing. He doesn't just say yes or no. He lists all the things he loves: Mist, Fog Rolling In, Edgar Allan Poe, Mary Shelley, Gothic architecture. And he just concludes, yeah, there's a strong goth element to him. I think we can all agree with that. And hey, here's a quick bit of trivia for you. How many tattoos has he got? He estimates it's somewhere around 12. But really, if you want one story that just captures the absolute unique reality of his life, this is the one. So he says he'd been having these weird dreams about two-headed eagles. The very next day, his agent gets a call. Somebody found a real live two-headed snake. And of course, he bought it. What else are you gonna do? It's like his actual life is as surreal as his movies. Now, a life that's surreal is bound to create some pretty epic myths, right? But as you're about to see, there are some mysteries he's determined to keep all to himself. So here's one of the big legends. You'll remember he was married to Lisa Marie Presley, and the rumor has always been that he was one of the very, very few people who ever got to go into Elvis's private upstairs area at Graceland. And then there's maybe the most famous rumor of all, this idea that he actually bought a pyramid-shaped tomb for himself in a cemetery in New Orleans. It's one of those Nick Cage facts that's been around forever. So what's the truth? This is his answer to both questions. It's so blunt, so direct, and he means it. He is drawing a very clear line in the sand between his public life and his private life. Some things, he's telling us, are just for him. This idea of leaving some things a mystery actually carries right over into his acting. When he was asked why his silent character in Willy's Wonderland is always drinking soda, he basically said the audience's reason is better than his. He believes that your personal interpretation is what really gives art its power. So where does all of this leave us? For an actor with a career this unique, a persona this big,
What could possibly be next? Well, how about this for a perfect next step? He's playing Dracula in the movie Renfield. I mean, seriously. After hearing him talk about that strong goth element, playing the most iconic gothic character in history doesn't feel like a role. It feels like destiny. And this all brings us to the final, ultimate question. The one that's kind of hung over his entire career. With all the wild choices, the truly brilliant performances, and these really deep thoughts on his own craft, is he a genius? And in the end, he brings it all the way back around, and he leaves it with us. He won't answer it. He pushes that question right back to the audience. And you know what? Maybe that's the real answer to what is Nicolas Cage. He's not an answer at all. He's a question, an experience, a puzzle that he just invites every single one of us to solve for ourselves.